The first two seizures I ever had was in fourth grade. I was on theophylline medication. I was roughly 12 years old, maybe knee-high to a grasshopper, and I was on 2,000 milligrams a day medication, and it ended up being, it overloaded the system and sent me into 2 grand mal seizures, and I fell off the jungle gym. But then I didn't have another seizure again until 7th grade on, and I started having full, anywhere from teat mal to grand mal seizures after that, at least twice every other week. The seizures put me into a coma for about a week. And I think there's 2 weeks in that time frame of 4th grade that I actually don't even remember anything. The doctor I had at the time kind of tested me, kind of looked into it, but didn't follow through with too many ideas, just tried to medicate me. What a seizure felt like to me when I was having my seizures is I would get an aura, I'd get a really queasy stomach, like I had to go to the bathroom, or I was going to puke on myself, and so I'd usually go to the bathroom. And from there, I either would make it to the bathroom, or I'd be in the bathroom trying to do what I was doing, and my legs would start convulsing, or my arms would start convulsing, or I'd just lose it and I'd be on the floor and convulsing. And they didn't always knock me out. Most of the convulsive seizure I'd usually stay awake for, and not having control of your body and just having your body do what it wants, it can really scare you. You don't know what's going to happen next. You don't know what you're going to hit next. You don't know if you're going to be able to even not break anything or break your arm. Or as I smacked my arm, I was actually awake on the bathroom floor, and I was beating one arm against the toilet bowl, and I was beating one arm against the side of the bathtub, and I couldn't stop it. I'd have them at school. They were embarrassing. I'd hide them as best as I could. If nobody saw them, I'd keep my mouth shut. I'd stay in the back of class, wait until the entire class left the room. Then I'd walk out to the teacher, let the teacher know what happened, go find a janitor, get the mop, get everything, go clean my mess up. Then I'd go and change, hide those clothes in a locker somewhere, and then go on with my day like it never happened. My dad really figured that I'd never be cured. I'd never find a way to beat the seizures. I'd always have them. So we were gearing me towards having to work out of my home. So I went towards, when I was doing school, I went towards my electronics and my computers. I also was very skittish on being out and about. I didn't leave home much because I didn't know how people would handle it. I stuck to myself in school. I stayed very quiet, kind of stayed in corners. I was picked on pretty badly as a child. As I graduated high school and moved on, I actually foresaw a very lonely, very limited future. I didn't think that I would have much of a job career field. I did not feel that I would have much of a future to look forward to, and I kind of felt that I was going to be a burden to the system because I didn't want to live off the system. I didn't want to have health insurance or have social services paying for me. I didn't want to be on Social Security disability. I didn't want to do any of that. I wanted to be making my own money, making my own career, out doing my own thing, but I could not see it working in my future to do that. Until about halfway through college, they continued. And my teachers, my college professors actually did not really foresee me being able to graduate. But then once the surgery came around and once we produced the surgery and I was cured of my seizures, the grades turned and came around a whole 180 degrees. I actually have an award that they gave me for most improved student in the 2 degree programs because of that. My neurologist in Syracuse actually misdiagnosed me as multifocal and thought they could only treat me by medications. And that's what continued the seizures, is that what did not work at all. And my grandmother, who lives in Florida, knew this. And she ended up being best friends with Peter Williamson, where he had a summer home in Florida, met him, and they were talking about what he did as a career, and she never knew what he did as a career before then, and brought me up and told him about my complications and my history with neurologists in Syracuse and what they did, and nothing they did was working. And he took it upon his own time in Thanksgiving of '99 to actually call me at home, talk to me on his own time. We talked for about 45 minutes on the phone, and by the end of the conversation, he says, "I think we can cure you. I want to see you in my facility when we can get you there for about a 10-day study so we can get you up and I can view you and we can really see what we can do for you." It was important for them to actually see a seizure on tape and on the video is because they wanted to see where the seizures were starting in the brain so they can try and trace it down to a point. And the other odd thing they saw when I was here as a patient is when I was sleeping, when you're sleeping, your brain waves are very low sinusoidal brainwaves. In one of mine, there was actually a spike in it, and that's not normal for somebody when you're sleeping to have that. So they thought that's where the spot was, but they wanted to make sure, so they had to see a seizure to truly track it to that scar tissue. And what they ended up finding is after the 9th seizure, and they tallied up everything and looking at the different mapping of the brain that they had, they found scar tissue on the right side of the brain. After they found the scar tissues, they mapped out my brain functions, and I'm normally right-handed, so they knew via brain, how it works is I would be left brain dominant. So they mapped out my brain functions to see if where the scar tissue was, if it would affect me if it was removed, and found out that everything that is around the scar tissue, that nothing's there is used. Dr. Williamson from there did, I don't remember the surgery's proper name, but they did, went in and removed the scar tissue from the right side, right behind the right lobe. They went in right here next to my ear. I still got the scar there actually. And removed out an inch square piece of bone and removed the scar tissue and then put it back in. As time went on, and I went to 2 weeks without a seizure, and then I went the month without a seizure, went to 2 months without a seizure, and progressed. I grew more and more confidence in my abilities that it's not going to happen. I was always scared. There was always a hint that I might have one, but it never happened. I waited the 6 months to really feel that, and what I did with the 6 months is I went to the DMV of New York State to find out the procedures on trying to get my driver's license and what I had to do that, and they told me you have to go a year seizure-free, get a letter from your doctor verifying you're seizure-free for a year, then you can get your license. And then we will have you every year after that bring us a new letter from your doctor verifying that you're seizure-free. And we did that. I waited the year. I came up here for a visit, saw Dr. Williamson again. He wrote me a clean bill of health because he was very, very impressed, very pleased. And from there, I actually, the very next year, got my license in that summer and proceeded to go through that procedure with the state for 3 years. And they actually wrote me a letter back clearing me completely out of the system and said, we consider your case closed. You have your license free and clear. If you ever have a seizure again, just let us know. And it's now been, in 4 days, it will be 9 years seizure free. I've gained confidence in myself. I have a higher self-esteem. I'm more interactive. I'll socialize with people very easily now, whereas before I was very skittish. I was very self-contained. I've proceeded to graduate with my 2 college degrees. I've also gotten my New York State Emergency Services Technician certification. I've been working as a professional EMT for 2 years now. The treatment here at Dartmouth Hitchcock that I received, even coming up here, my first day walking in the door, I was treated very well. The receptionist actually knew that I was confused and had never been here before, took me on a quick tour. From there, I ended up, everybody that I met was very friendly. The 10 days of study, I was actually up here by myself. My dad didn't come up. I had no adult figure with me. I was here basically on my own, and I just talked to my dad daily. And I was treated, I ended up being pretty much adopted by the nursing staff here and the doctors as one of their sons. Peter Williamson as a doctor was an exceptional, wonderful man. If you asked him a question, he'd explain it to you in detail until you were completely confident in what he told you. If you had a question, he wanted you to ask him right then and there, and he would explain it. He would not leave your bedside until you were completely satisfied with everything he had to tell you that day. I've never met another doctor like him. Even in New York now, I actually have never seen a doctor that had his bedside manner. At the time when I was having my seizure, I was very scared to even try a relationship. I was very scared to let anybody in and let anybody deal with the problem that I had. But now with the surgery having cured me, those walls came down. I was hesitant over time, but I've gotten to where I've gotten out of that, and I now have a very wonderful woman in my life. She takes good care of me. We take good care of each other. I'm supporting her to actually take her LPN class, and from there she's going to be taking her registered nursing class, and she's supporting me for me to take my paramedic class.